It's time to sit back and check out the RCWR Show with Lee Sanders. Get fun, in-depth coverage and analysis from the latest in professional wrestling in AEW, WWE, NWA, Impact Wrestling, or the world of entertainment. From hit TV shows to your favorite sports like the NBA or NFL. All things music, movies, and beyond, while trying to make sense of this crazy world we live in. All while keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive since 2011. And now your hosts, live from the nation's capital of Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
Hello, friends. Good Monday night to you guys. You're checking out a new episode of the RCWR Show for this Monday night of May 12th, 2025. How you doing, everybody? Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I really cannot complain. I was able to catch up on some much needed rest as this week is a loaded up week. I've got to focus on really just my main math class as I do have one more television production class to do for the semester. That one's going to be easy, though, because the hardest part was my group preparing going last week, but when it was all said and done, we hit that out of a park, managed to get a for that project. So the overall course grade is an A+, so that's fantastic. But my elements of statistics math class, that is where, all right, how is things going to end right here? Because our professor, right before the weekend was out, she gave us an idea of how the final assignments was looking, and particularly the final exam, which is worth 600 points. So that can really make or break a grade. I mean, we are talking now, it depends. If you did well in everything else, then you should be good. But man, that is one of those type of exams where if you were kind of struggling just a little bit with some of the assignments and you're trying to ensure you're in a position where you can get yourself at least a C or higher, the weight of that particular exam, that is like, so I am eagerly anticipating taking that exam. I've been studying. I mean, that's really the best thing that you can do is get your study on and everything. But keep your fingers crossed for your man. Hope that I do well in that one. Because yeah, that is really going to be. Whew, I will feel honestly a lot better once I get to Sunday and I have a better idea of how things are shaping for that course. Because honestly, take the final exam out of the equation. Right now, I'm sitting on an A- for an overall grade. Now, some of you guys may be like, oh, Lee, like, well, dude, you got nothing to worry about this. Like, depending on how bad I do for that final exam, I mean, that A- could instantly turn to a C or C+. So it really just depends. Hey, let me know what you thought about tonight's WWE RAW. Got some polls up. Got the one up on Twitter at the RCWR Show. Also got the one up on YouTube, youtube.com/the RCWR Show. Click on the post section and you can definitely vote. That way, we'll talk some Raw fallout. Also, some fond memories of the late but always great Sabu, ECW wrestling legend that passed away this week at the age of 60. Go over a little bit of headlines as well, including my thoughts on Michael Jordan returning to the NBA on NBC. I don't know if you guys had heard about that little news. We'll talk about that later on. during the show and everything. Look, as far as Raw tonight, man, I kind of felt like I was going through the motions on this episode. I am not going to say this episode was fantastic. I'm definitely not going to say this episode was bad, but it was definitely a middle of the road type of episode. You know, it was one of those episodes where I really wished we could have gotten an appearance from John Cena just to kind of give it that extra little bit of just give it that extra little bit of kick and everything. I'm really anticipating SmackDown this week. I'm looking more forward to seeing SmackDown and what all is going to be happening on that particular show. You know, it's weird because as I was watching tonight's show, I didn't exactly feel as though we were coming fresh off the heels of a pay-per-view or a premium live event. By the way, final tally for those of you that may be a little bit curious, and shout out to those of you that had checked out the WWE, what was that? Backlash, more like lackluster, you know, warm leftovers, whatever you want to call that event from the weekend. That thing, oof, you know, so much feedback for that one. Generally the same consensus overall and all that for that respected event. But looking at the final tally for how things are for that premium live event, because as always, we like to circle back, you know, usually a day or two after those events are over. Looking on YouTube, I asked you guys, what did you think about the event? Final tally on YouTube, 9% of you guys said you didn't enjoy Backlash at all. 27% of you said it was an average show. Meanwhile, 64% of you said it was an awesome show overall. Now, that's what our YouTube community had said. Meanwhile, our Twitter audience, very polarizing, very different reaction to the event. The final tally for that one is as follows: 11% of you said didn't enjoy at all, 16% of you said it was an awesome show, and we have a tie. We now have a tie. It was not always a tie, it was never a tie until really, I would have to say just a couple of hours before the poll had officially ended. What was top dog was below average show. That's what was top dog. But we now have a tie as 35% of you said it was a below average show and the other half of you said it was a average show. So, you know, this was kind of one of those let me tell you this. This was one of those kind of events where if you did not watch it, it wasn't earth-shattering, wasn't the end of the world. It wasn't one of those, damn, I got to go back and I got to no, you actually were okay. You actually were okay if you did not watch it. But to my point, yeah, when we go into tonight's Raw, didn't really feel as though we were coming fresh off the heels of a weekend pay-per-view. And we got to keep in mind that WWE over the course of these next couple of weeks, it is all hands on deck, is it not? Because they're going to be gearing up for Money in the Bank. They're going to be gearing up for Saturday night's main event, which is going to be happening 1 week from the Saturday. Also, we've got Night of Champions. That's going to be happening in June as well. Now, Night of Champions will be happening in Saudi Arabia. So there's a whole lot of just compounding stuff that's going to be going down for WWE over the course of these next several weeks. I'm very curious how they're going to be able to string all of this together and everything. WWE may be on fire right now, as Triple H says in those little montages and everything. But as far as the creative storytelling goes, it can be hit and miss in quite a few areas. For example, we had on tonight's show Becky Lynch cutting a promo. And it's interesting because if you're a Becky Lynch fan and you're looking at this promo, then for Becky Lynch standards, you're going, you know what? That was, for what it was worth, that was a pretty damn good promo from Becky Lynch. But if you're really taking a step back and truly, looking, really dissecting this promo, you're pretty much going, this is almost a, rinse and repeat type of deal that we're getting from Becky Lynch. So, Becky Lynch, once again, verbally bashing the hell out of Lyra Valkyria. Lyra did not come out. I thought for sure maybe we were going to get a repeat of what we've been seeing with these two girls for the past couple of weeks on the microphones, but that did not happen at all. And yet somehow this promo, it morphed into Becky just going on and on and on. And she eventually stopped talking about Lyra. And she was just rambling on about a whole bunch of other stuff as she was just really out there putting herself over. But there is one interesting quote that I want to home in on that I thought was rather, okay, well, this is pretty good, what she had said and everything. But once I put this out there, you guys are probably going to see where I'm going with this and everything. So, major part of this, Becky Lynch says, and I quote, "Do you want to know why I walked away from this for almost a year? Because you asked me to. The last time I won the world championship, I heard the reaction. I saw all your comments online. So I stepped away because if I'm not here to win world championships, then why am I here?" Just, you hear that and you're going, why does this promo sound so familiar? Why exactly does this promo sound familiar? Could it be that this promo sounds a little bit familiar because, gee, I don't know, to a certain degree, we have heard John Cena, "You people, look what I was doing, for you guys. I was all for you guys. I cared about you guys, and look how you're doing me." And then, almost essentially to a degree, you look at what's going on with Seth Rollins. You look at, insert whatever name you want to insert, but there's definitely quite a few examples of this. And it's just gotten to the point right now, Charlotte. We also got to think about Charlotte as well. Oh, you people, you right? Everybody seems to be doing this whole "you people" routine. Look what I did. I give, and you guys, you take, and now look at what. I don't know about you guys. Once, twice, okay. If you're gonna do it twice, put a nice little spin on it to make it really be its own unique. And no, it might be a little bit similar to, but it's completely different in its own right because blah 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 yakety smackety. But to see so many times WWE is going to the well for this, right? We need to really break up that kind of monopoly, because it's starting to feel like you could go to Wendy's and you can go get their biggie bag, or you can go to Checkers and you can get their, whatever little combo bag, or you can go to McDonald's and get the 2 cheeseburgers, medium fries, and drink for $7.99 or what, like, which I highly love. I highly love. That's like me and my wife's cheat meal once a week when we're doing good, and we're doing our best to keep the weight off and everything, continue to shed the weight off. That's our little cheat meal. One burger for her, one burger for me. We split the fries. Usually I'll either, for that drink, I'll get a bottle of water for me, or I just let her get a soda and I'll just have water at the house or whatever. But you feel where I'm coming from. It's the redundancy of what we're seeing going on here. Like I'm getting, for starters here, at least for me, I don't know how it is for you all, but for me, I'm getting a little sick and tired of this "you people" promo. Like, I seriously am getting nauseous to no end about this. And this isn't me nitpicking. This isn't me moaning and complaining. It's just constructive criticism slash feedback that I'm seeing here, that I hope that WWE, kind of a lot sooner rather than later, even if it's a case where no, you may think you know where things are going, and you feel this way about this particular story arc, but no, we're actually going in a completely different direction than what you're kind of coming to the conclusion of already. Well, like, you better hurry up and throw some new elements in there already, because first impressions mean everything. And once that viewer gets that impression that they have, sometimes a little bit hard to win them back over. Isn't that right, little buddy? Yeah. I got, how many of my furry daughters are in here? I see one furry kid. And what are you doing? What are you chewing on? Oh my God. Every time I turn around, my second oldest, Precious, she is always chewing on something she's got no business chewing on. Right now, she is messing around with a paper towel roll. It looks like I'm just gonna let her do her thing. It's keeping her occupied. But so, that's one example about, as far as misses go, from tonight's episode. For you guys wondering what's going on with Bailey, no sign of Bailey just yet. I know a couple of more matches was announced for Saturday night's main event, but nothing as far as Becky Lynch and Bailey. I remember I said over the weekend on the Backlash post show that, if I'm WWE, why not have Becky Lynch and Lyra go at it again? Let it be for the championship. You can have Becky Lynch say, the kid was so, she was lucky. That's how she was able to get the win. She was lucky. If I just would have had one more second to, or whatever the hell, I would have been the champion. Wouldn't mind seeing the two of them lock up one more time. Let it go down at Saturday night's main event. Bailey makes her return, and then you officially have Bailey and Becky off to the side doing their thing. Okay. That paper, Precious is really going to town on that. Let me just take this off real quick here. Hang on a second. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? I know. Where is it? I was gonna say, damn, you ate it that quick. Give me that. Go like chew on a sock or something. Here, have a sock. There you go. Have a sock. Oh my God. Every time I turn around, that girl's always, if it's not a paper roll, she's chewing on napkins and she eats good. She eats good. Don't be like, maybe she's mal. No. They do that out of boredom and a whole bunch of other stuff. Anyway. So that's my thoughts about Becky and eventually the return of Bailey there and everything. A little bit of a positive note, CM Punk making his return, speaking for the first time since WrestleMania and all that. He is pretty pissed off. Talks about how he has a long list of people that he's pissed off at, but the number one with a bullet is Seth Rollins, the Timu version of CM Punk. That's per Punk. He actually said that. I popped really huge when I heard him say that. He talked about how it's not the first time that Paul Heyman has stabbed him in the back, but he thought that after all these years, that they somehow grew past that. Jey Uso tried warning him about Heyman, and ultimately Punk was wrong for what he was believing and everything, and he cannot wait to get his hands on Paul Heyman, let alone Seth Rollins and everything. This sets up Rollins and Braun Breaker to show up. Rollins thinks Punk has maybe found a way to top himself here. Uh, Punk made Heyman's life hell on the road to WrestleMania, bringing up everything that we've heard regurgitated over the past several weeks and everything. Eventually, we saw a little bit of a rumble in the arena go down. Sami Zayn come into the scene. Jey Uso coming in there as well for backup. So nice little setup that we saw play itself out and everything. Eventually, later on in the night, there was a conversation between CM Punk and Sami Zayn where Punk admitted to Zayn that, he's not really a fan of doing the whole team up thing, forging alliances, considering how everything that's transpired over the past couple of weeks, he's got a little bit of trust issues right now. Zayn tells him he can totally respect that and say, look, this is definitely something that needs to happen though, because there is strength in numbers, but he totally understood where Punk was coming from, but also letting Punk know he has his own dreams and singles career ambitions as well, but that they really need to consider joining forces and everything. And the way this kind of seems, it almost feels as though maybe we're going to see these guys possibly team up at Saturday night's main event. I don't believe they had announced that these guys are going to all lock up, but you're under the impression that maybe as early as Saturday night's main event, maybe we'll see these guys lock up. Later on in the night, Seth Rollins was chatting it up with Heyman and particularly Braun Breaker, saying, hey, they think they got a one up on us. They think they got the best of us in numbers, but they don't. Let them underestimate me. They're going to get a rude awakening. He gives a message to Braun Breaker. We don't hear what that message is, but you're kind of under the impression Breaker's been given the green light to assassinate somebody. Who that is, we didn't see, as far as I know here. And I'm just double checking my notes to make sure that I didn't miss anything. And no, I did not miss anything here. Yeah. So a little bit of a cliffhanger. So we'll probably find out next week, just what exactly Braun Breaker is going to do. But he's going to be destroying somebody. Your man is going to be destroying somebody when it's all said and done. As far as some of the in-ring action, by the way, shout out to WWE for the Sabu graphic. It's really hard for me to believe that Sabu is not, I repeat, not in the WWE Hall of Fame. For some weird reason, I'm glad I did not speak about this out loud as if, hey, Sabu's in the WWE, I didn't want to pull a Peter Rosenberg. If I'm not really sure about something, I have no problem admitting that I'm not sure about something. But interesting that Sabu, all this time, I thought for sure he was in the WWE Hall of Fame, but he is not. Very surprising. Maybe next year, who knows? Maybe next year something will go down. Penta versus Chad Gable. Solid matchup. Got the job done. It was about 8 minutes, maybe a little less than that. Penta going over via pinfall. Not really the best of openers for this week's Raw, I personally felt. Love the little angle that they worked in there where they said El Grande Americano, whatever the hell that alternate ego is. I like how they said that guy is off in Mexico right now, part of a Mexico tour, tearing it up and everything. So it's kind of nice what we had going on there as they're continuing this whole running gimmick and everything. By the way, Louisville, Kentucky was your site for this week's Monday Night Raw. From there, War Raiders taking on Brutus and Julius Creed. New Day was on commentary. Remember, this is a continuation a little bit of a union there that's going on between New Day and American Made from a couple of weeks ago. We did see New Day in the closing moments of this matchup play that huge X factor in helping Brutus and Julius Creed pick up the win. This is more so about storyline than anything, because you would like to believe now that Brutus and Julius Creed have pinned the current tag champions. That they have pinned former tag champions, that maybe this would put them somehow one step closer to bragging rights to ultimately be able to face New Day for the tag titles. You would think. You would think. AJ Styles taking on Finn Bálor. AJ Styles picking up the win. Gotta say, of all the matches for tonight's show, this match for me, I would probably say this was the match of the night. Definitely was more than I was anticipating, to be honest with you. I mean, this wasn't you hear the name AJ Styles and Finn Balor, and you're thinking about the fact that it's 2025. I mean, look, we know that AJ Styles, he's still the phenomenal one, but he is slowing down quite a bit. Now, look, one can make the argument that, well, not for nothing, but he's put on a lot of muscle within the past 2+ years. Maybe if he kind of trim that down a little bit, maybe as far as the speed goes. But this was definitely not AJ Styles, Finn Balor from New Japan. It wasn't anything of that magnitude. I wouldn't even, honestly, I'm not going to even sit here and say to you guys that this was one of those type of matches where you saw shades of New Japan from these guys. No, nothing of that magnitude. This was not anything to write home about. It wasn't a terrible match. Make no mistake about it. It wasn't a terrible match, but as far as, hey, Finn Balor, hey, AJ Styles, like, it was just okay. It was an okay match. One of the highlights of the night, I think, mainly because of the name, right? The marquee value of the names involved. But when you really looked at the match itself, it was okay. It was okay. EO Sky and I wonder if Jim Cornette stopped by there since they were in Louisville, Kentucky. I wonder if he might have made a pit stop. Very curious. EO Sky and Rhea Ripley taking on Roxanne, Perez, and Giulia in the main event. Rhea Ripley going over about 11 minutes. I love the fact that all four of these women, number one thing they all got in common, NXT, and they all pretty much were closing out the show here. This was definitely the match. I thought a very good way to close out the show. Rhea Ripley returning. Remember, we didn't get her last week and everything. So the fact that things had closed out on this note, do your very best to send the fans home happy. And they definitely got that here with this match. But at the same time, you're also thinking about the fact that Rhea Ripley has not forgotten about that women's world heavyweight championship. She's still trying to get another crack at that and everything. So, I love the fact that although Rhea had no problem teaming up with Io after the match was over and their hands are being raised in victory, Rhea lets it be known that she wants Io's title. And I love how Io was just smiling and everything. And then when she looks over, sees what Rhea is looking at, we pretty much have that stare down between those two. Some really good stuff right there. I am appreciating more and more that Perez and Giulia are getting more and more time here on Monday Night Raw. I think they both are doing very well with what's been thrown at them these past several weeks. Now, granted, they've pretty much just been Roxanne and Giulia. They've mainly just been working with Io and Rhea in some form on a consistent basis. But still, if you're trying to prepare somebody, condition somebody, helping them easily transition to the main roster and everything, helping them get ready and all that. I think what's been happening these past handful of weeks has been good. It's been a great experiment, and I think they've been adjusting very well. They seem to get better every single week. So I like what I'm seeing of Perez and Giulia. Even appreciated just the fine little things. I know a lot of people are going to just look past this, but I appreciated the little vignette package that WWE had put together where Roxanne and Giulia, they both were seen in the same camera shot, same static camera shot, and Roxanne is talking, and then when Giulia starts talking, she's speaking in her native language, and we get the English subtitle, and then it goes right back to Roxanne saying a little something, and then the little bit that Giulia does say to close out that video package, she speaks it in English and did pretty good. I felt. I can't help but think about where's Asuka, as I feel at some point there's going to be a third woman that's going to enter the mix here for Roxanne and Giulia. And I just feel as though between EO and Rhea that eventually Asuka's going to slide her in there, because I couldn't help but ask myself at least a few days ago, where's Asuka? What's going on? I know one of the last times Asuka had made the news, and we talked about it right here on the show, Asuka was dealing with some weird social media creeps. That I guess they were invading her personal space and sending her love letters, emails, and all kinds of weird crap, and that was kind of making her a little uncomfortable and all that. But just kind of looking ahead storyline wise, I could easily see a EO, Rhea, and Asuka forming an alliance there. I think that would do some wonders. Other than that, pretty average episode of Monday Night Raw, at least in my books, when it's all said and done. Like I had mentioned at the top, WWE, they are juggling a lot right now with all the future events that's going to be coming up in the next several weeks. And so it is like go time for them right now, because before you know it, uh, boom, Saturday night's main event's going to be here. And then boom, we're going to have Night of Champions. We're going to have Money in the Bank. Then you're thinking about those Raw and SmackDown and NXTs. That's going to be boom, 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 back to back to back to back to back and everything. I don't know how they're going to do it. Somehow they always do, but the main thing that I'm kind of very concerned about right now is the lack of attention to detail in story. They're not really hurting too much on the character development, not too much, although there is some redundancy, which we had highlighted earlier and everything. But very cold, very, very kind of, I think, my opinion, kind of cold in some areas, but that's just me. See what you guys had to say about this week's Monday Night Raw. Going over to Twitter, see how you guys have voted here, and I will repost that. All right, so right now I am seeing 46% of you felt it was a awesome show tonight. Meanwhile, 53% of you said it was a awesome show. That's our Twitter poll. Appreciate you guys that voted. Oh, so Holly's chilling on the sofa with me here. That's nice. Let's see here. I am missing. Oh, so Holly is the only one in here with me. Okay. It was 3. Now it's down to 1. That's cool. I got my Holly. As long as I got my Holly, that's good. All right, let's see what you guys are saying on YouTube here. And let's click on the post section, see how you guys had voted. Early voting coming in right now. I'm seeing, and I know it's not going to last that long. Right now, I'm seeing 100% of the votes coming in is saying it was a awesome show. Appreciate you guys that had cast your vote. Where are you going, Blondie? And it looks like she's trying to go stretch out somewhere else. It's all good. All right, so that is Monday Night Raw in the books. By the way, I believe Arizona June 9th, Monday Night Raw, Gunther will be facing Jey Uso for the World Heavyweight Championship. That was announced on Raw as Gunther had confronted Jey Uso, basically letting him know, I don't really believe you to truly be a World Heavyweight Champion. You know, you just you don't really carry that prestige. You don't really have that value. You don't really, you ain't the man. You're truly not the man. You're just not him. You're just right. So he's basically saying, I don't believe you as a champ. We'll see what happens coming up on June 9th. But remember, first things first, somehow Jey Uso's got to get past Logan Paul next weekend. So we got to keep that in mind. But that should be I'm looking forward to Saturday night's main event, be perfectly honest with you. Man, NBC is on the roll. You know, you got the working relationship with WWE again, and then you've got the NBA on NBC that's going to be happening this fall. And I don't know if you guys had heard the news, but they were able to strike a huge deal with the Michael Jeffrey Jordan, MJ. They were able to strike a deal with him where he is going to be a special correspondent all season long for the NBA on NBC. So I am very, very ecstatic. I can't wait to, because I remember as a kid growing up, you know, listening to Ahmad Rashad interview Michael Jordan. And I know a lot of you guys remember Ahmad Rashad from back in the day. Ahmad Rashad just had a really great, distinct, natural conversational way of bringing out the very best in the people that he interviewed. And anytime he had an opportunity to interview Michael Jordan, I always got a kick out of them, and I always learned a lot in listening to Michael Jordan. So I cannot wait to hear Michael Jordan, because there's two versions of Michael Jordan. You're either gonna get the standard, in front of the cameras, on the microphone. You're going to get the media Michael Jordan, right? But then there is okay, let's really talk to the man. Let's really get into the head of this man that has such a high basketball IQ and is willing to truly let that guard down, and that basketball IQ is on full display. What's up? I hope we get the latter, because if we get the latter, and I'm banking on that's the kind of Michael Jordan we're going to get that's going to show up. That is going to be good. That is going to be good. I find it interesting that inside the NBA on TNT, like, no, far as I know, no Michael Jordan appearance. ESPN, like, far as I recall, like, no Michael Jordan, but NBA on NBC, they were able to, and not for nothing, but Michael Jordan, he did put out a press release statement talking about how, he had so many fond memories, most of his career, some of the most important milestone moments of his basketball career happened on NBC. So, I guess when you look at the sense of loyalty and all that, it, kind of comes full circle, makes a lot of sense and everything. So that should be good. That should be good. Meanwhile, rest in peace to ECW alumni, wrestling legend Sabu, who passed away over the weekend at the age of 60. This took a lot of us, we definitely were pretty blindsided by this move, especially considering, we heard that this man had wrestled just a few weeks ago, heading into WrestleMania weekend for Joey Janela's spring break event. And Joey Janela tells a really interesting story about Sabu and how the match with Sabu almost came to not be because there was some last minute health issues that was going on with Sabu. And, it's kind of interesting because when you see what Joey Janela had to say, and the fact that, Sabu, so many battles this man has had, like internally, I mean, demon wise, substance abuse and all that. And basically, this guy was given this new substance, and it's almost kind of being justified. Well, it's not drugs, you see, but at the same time, it's like, that's not how we answer this. Like, that's not how we combat, right? Like, you don't, because you're doing a trade-off essentially. Okay, you're doing a trade-off. But anyway, Mike Johnson of PW Insider, he was the first to report the passing of Sabu. Now, it's not known right now what the exact cause of death is. That probably won't be revealed for several weeks. Toxology report and all that stuff. That usually takes some weeks, unless the family tries to get things expedited and all that. Then maybe, but then even at that, it could still be a matter of weeks. But I said something on social media, and it rings true. As soon as I had heard about his passing, it rings true though, which is, and you always hear the words uh, pioneer, trailblazer, innovator. You hear that constantly, when somebody has passed. And I know those are key words that get spammed out a lot. I know they do. In this rare instance, though, in talking about the man that was Sabu, who began his wrestling career in the early 1990s. And if there was a wrestling promotion out there, 9 times out of 10, this man wrestled for it. Whether you want to talk TNA, you want to talk AEW, you want to talk WWE, you want to talk New Japan, you want to talk uh, WCW. This man, even AEW in more recent years, even AEW, this man has done it all. Old school ECW, the WWE CW branded version. This man has done it all. He truly was one of the most influential and innovative hardcore wrestlers, not just of all time, because I've seen them all since the early 1980s. As far back as my earliest memory, in my earliest recollection as a wrestling fan growing up and everything. I've seen them all, but no, this man truly was a trailblazer. This man truly was years ahead of his time. And I can just remember being a teenager and seeing this man and just going, holy, like, what the hell? Whoa, I've never seen a guy do all this before. Like, what the hell? I mean, some of his high flying moves, especially the stuff that he was doing with the chairs alone. I'm like, wow, like, I've never seen this before. Like, this guy is cool. This guy is badass. It was a great 1-2 punch for me growing up, because I'm seeing RVD, and then I'm seeing Sabu taking it to that next level. I'm like, I can remember when the WWE CW brand had came about. And of all the people I was most excited for, that, okay, like, if anything, if anyone can truly be successful in the WWE version of ECW, oh yeah, for sure, Sabu. Like, he's the man. He can go for sure. And WWE, I felt, struggled to really be able to capitalize on Sabu. I'm almost kind of reminded about the old Rise and Fall of ECW DVD, where Paul Heyman was given so much credit for, you know, all the wrestlers in WCW back in the correction, in ECW back in the day, where if they had some type of a flaw, the wrestler, you know, Paul Heyman knew just how to mask it and really focus on the strengths of that wrestler and everything. And, you know, say what you will about RVD, but RVD, you know, at the time that he was coming up through WWE, he could not be denied. And boy, I tell you, if it wasn't for all the stuff going on at the time with cannabis, you just, if we would have had the same relaxed laws like we do now back then, oh my God, I think Rob would have had I think Rob Van Dam would have had a really great long run as the WWE CW champ, because remember he held two titles there. He held the ECW and he held the World Heavyweight Championship. I always looked at Sabu in that much high regard, and trust me, I was greatly disappointed when WWE was fumbling with the guy quite a bit and everything. It was just nerve wracking. It was nerve wracking, and you know, obviously Sabu did much harder stuff than your typical wrestler. You know, how the man managed to, and I'm knocking on wood for the guy, but realistically, how the man was able to live long enough to the age of 60 is just because you just would have expected to see him expire like a long time ago, because not just what he was doing to his body, but the type of crap that he was putting in his body. Um, you think about his ECW championship wins. You think about the fact that he was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion as well. I know I had referenced how he's not in the WWE Hall of Fame. However, last year he was inducted into the Indie Wrestling Hall of Fame. So he did, you know, at least get that nod before he passed and everything. But when you think about high risk maneuvers, when you think about death defying moves, dangerous dives, insane spots with weapons, the jumps, the unorthodox uh offense that this man had with a chair, years ahead of his time. I'm telling you, you know, and I know that's really hard to grasp if you are a younger wrestling fan, you know, that, or a newer wrestling fan that's just coming to the scene. And you know, like, it's easy for people these days to say, Andre body slamming, correction, Hulk Hogan body slamming Andre the Giant. You know, hey, I watched that WrestleMania match back. Yeah, it wasn't no big deal. Like, it's easy to say that now, but you know, when you go back and you were living in the moment back then, you know, it was a huge deal. And Sabu definitely, you know, a lot of the high flying offenses, everything that I had described in talking about his unique offense, a lot of what I'm talking about right now with regards to Sabu has been duplicated so many times over the years. You're currently seeing it in your wrestling product of choice. That's how influential Sabu was. Now, you know, definitely, besides giving Sabu his flowers and painting out all of the, you know, what I said is facts. You know, there's nobody that can deny when you look at his contributions to the industry. You look at everything that I just highlighted. Like, yeah, this definitely, you know, he was the man. He was the freaking man and everything. But you know, Sabu had a dark side as well, and it was a serious drug abuse problem. It was a serious drug abuse problem. So many times, you know, especially in the almost 14 years that I've been doing this show, we've been here sharing many tales of Sabu pulling a no call, no show at a wrestling event or a meet and greet. Too many times there would be an incident where Sabu would take X amount of money from a promoter, promise that he would definitely be making the appearance, but first, he needed at least half of the money, basically in good faith, or whatever you want to call it. And then when it would come time for the show, Sabu is nowhere to be found whatsoever. We have talked about here on this very show. There has been a couple of promoters that have blasted Sabu on social media, and not to mention Sabu has mentioned some very controversial comments. Now, I know I referenced hey, I'm surprised that WWE Hall of Fame. Now, before somebody goes, but Lee, look, he has said some unflattering things about WWE in the past. He's taken some jokes at Stephanie McMahon, Triple H, and yes, yes, that is true. But from what we've seen with Triple H these handful of years, he seems to be the Elliot Ness of, I can get this guy into the WWE Hall of Fame, and boom, like it's happened. Somehow Triple H, Paul Levesque, has been able to build some type of a working relationship with legends of yesteryear. But for whatever respected reason or reasons, just did not come to be with Sabu. It's a lot. It is a lot that's there. But when you see a situation where, well, damn, the Steiner brothers can apparently, surely Sabu can. Never say never, right? You're also aware about some of the racist and homophobic comments, uh, racial epithets, slurs, homophobia, just all of that Sabu has said over the years has definitely alienated some fans, definitely hurt his legacy a bit, I would have to say. Trust me when I say to you guys, if you bring up, and look, I hope that I'm really one of the few that's out there in the wrestling webcasting land and the podcasting land that is really doing a good job in presenting to you a balanced act here when it comes to Sabu, because it's great to see the tributes and everything that's coming in for this man, from the Tazes, from the Jerry Lynn's, the Mick Foley's, and rightfully so. But it's really hard to talk about how innovative and all that this man was without mentioning also how he had that dark side as well, that he sadly was never really able to overcome. I can remember the days of shoot DVD interviews and all that, way before wrestlers started understanding, okay, how can I utilize this online technology like YouTube, uh Zoom, and Google Hangouts, so I can do a podcast, a webcast. Way before all that, became mainstream. I can remember guys like Sabu was the go-to for the oh, hey Chloe, what's up? I can remember Sabu being one of the go-to guys in the shoot interview DVD industry. Anytime Sabu was involved with something, whether it was with Sean, oh my God, Sean Oliver of Kayfabe Commentaries, or it was something with High Spots, or it was something with insert. I can always remember. Oh, Sabu's. Oh, like, you just knew that was going to be good. You knew Sabu was going to give you something entertaining. You're going to have something, really cool to talk about with your little circle of wrestling friends and everything. I know in the more later years, Sabu was in a position where, and look, you got to do what you got to do to make ends meet. If you're in a position where you can make money off of meet and greets, You can do some stuff with maybe Rob Feinstein of our video signed by superstars. If you can, do some stuff with him or whatever, you do what you do so that you can make ends meet and everything. Um, but it's another thing when, let me see if I remember this right. He retired in, well, not technically, but his last match was in 2021. And he decided that 2025 he was going to do one more match, and that pretty much was going to be it. you know, it's just kind of one of those deals where I wish that his final match could have happened on a much grander scale and all of that, or it just never happened anyway. I prefer the latter, that it just didn't happen. And if anything, maybe he would be part of a special, Hall of Fame thing or whatever. I kind of wish that maybe had happened for him more. I know for the longest time, he had by his side Melissa Coates. Remember, she began her career as a wrestling valet. And remember, she eventually had lost a leg. I believe y'all can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe that was due to complications of diabetes, but I could be wrong. If I am wrong, I apologize in advance. Y'all let me know in the comments. But remember, usually anytime you saw Sabu, you saw Melissa Coates, always there by his side and everything. And she was there with him pretty much right on up till she passed away suddenly at the age of 52. This was back a couple of years ago, 2021. She died largely in part due to complications of COVID. So he pretty much, and I still remember how social media was during that period of time when she passed away. Oh my God, social media, everybody was just trying to slide into Sabu's DMs. He was being hit up with emails. And if I remember correctly, I think either Sabu said something on social media or his representatives, they put something out there, and then basically it was like, look, the woman hasn't even been dead a week. Let this man grieve in peace and all that. So I bring all this up. This man definitely had his fair shares of ups and downs. And before anybody mentions it about Sabu, WWE Hall of Fame, let's not also forget, not for nothing, back in 2016, Sabu was involved in a class action lawsuit against the WWE, which alleged that wrestlers they incurred long-term, neurological injuries and all that, and the company, failed to take care of them and all of that. That they were concealing these injuries. You remember Constantine Kairos? That BS crap. That BS crap. And that lawsuit was eventually dismissed. It took a couple of years, but eventually it got dismissed. Thank God. So yeah, he was the second ECW Triple Crown champion. Your NWA promotion, he was a one-time NWA World Heavyweight Champion, also a one-time NWA Independent Champion. I would imagine if it hasn't already, it should be coming up this week, but I would imagine Billy Corgan and them over in the NWA, they're probably gonna, do some really cool stuff. You go back to the years of the Pro Wrestling Illustrated magazine and just kind of give you guys an idea of just how head turning of a wrestler this man was back in the day. Back in 1995 on the PWI's 500 top 500, this dude ranked number 5. And then 2003 PWI, he was like in the top 100. So, and this was for the singles wrestlers, by the way. So some you know He definitely will be missed. I have quite a few fond memories of Sabu matches that come to mind and everything. Be careful with some of the baiting that's running around online. You're gonna see a lot of stuff. Oh, uh legit answer for Sabu's cause of death. And then when you click on it, there is no information. You got gypped. You got gypped, but some of my fondest memories of Sabu, just a couple of quick matches. I still remember, he feuded so much with Taz in ECW, like a lot. But one thing I remember particularly was, and it was a rare instance, might have been the only instance, but it was a rare instance where Sabu and Taz teamed up and they took on the team of Public Enemy. And you guys have heard me talk about Public Enemy for some weird reason, just off and on the past couple of weeks and everything. Um, but they teamed up to take that tag team on. And then I'm also reminded of when he faced Rob Van Dam going back 1995. That would have been at WrestlePalooza. That was a pretty damn good matchup. I'm also thinking about the Barely Legal pay-per-view as well against Taz. Um, for sure, I love TNA Sabu as well. Look up the match that he did with the Monster Abyss. That definitely was pretty badass. Um, Born to be Wild against Terry Funk is another personal favorite of mine as well. Um, lot of fond memories, but those matches are the ones that, and just on a side note, I can't remember which Royal Rumble it was, but I remember there was a Royal Rumble where Sabu came out, set up this table on the outside and everything. And you're like, oh man, Sabu's here. Oh, Sabu's gonna do some crazy. Oh man. Oh, with Sabu, when Sabu's in the house, yeah. And so Sabu basically set up this table. It was at a Royal Rumble. Set up the table, runs into Kane, gets choke slammed by Kane. That's the end of Sabu. Like literally, this was not a case where Sabu was, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Sabu is in this match. Sabu literally came out, set up a table, gets in the ring, choke slam by Kane. That's it. Match, that's it for Sabu. Hey, on the one hand, you're like, dude, that's a nice, easy ass payday. But then on the other hand, you're going, especially if you're a fan back there, you're going, that's it? That's all we're doing with Sabu? Like, that's it? Really? Really? I remember being so mad when that had went down, but laughing at the same time. Godspeed, Sabu. Hopefully Melissa Coates, if there is an afterlife, some utopia out there where there's no more pain and suffering. Hopefully, Melissa Coates greet him and he's getting the tour and all that loveliness right now. So we have that. And yeah, feel free to share with me some of your Sabu moments. So we have that. On a much lighter note, still a little bit, but definitely much lighter, because we're among the living right here. It looks like Dr. Carlin Culker's motion to dismiss a petition filed by Janelle Grant that has been denied by the judge, a Connecticut state court judge by the name of Colleen Zanaro denied Dr. Carlin Culker's motion to dismiss a petition filed by a former WWE employee named Janelle Grant. The ruling allows Grant to pursue evidence from Culker and his clinic, Peak Wellness, whom she says Vince McMahon directed her to get treatment at. Grant is now able to conduct discovery, seeking documents, possible communications with Vince McMahon, and possible testimony from Culker and his clinic as she considers whether to bring civil claims against those parties. Brandon Thurston of WrestleNomics and Post Wrestling, he notes that the case involving Grant and Culker is a state level pre-suit bill of discovery action in the Connecticut Superior Court that's separate from Grant's federal lawsuit against WWE, Vince McMahon, and John Laurinaitis, and that the ruling is separate from Culker's defamation lawsuit he recently filed in federal court against Grant's attorney, Ann Callis. So that's where things stand with that right now. By the way, I know there's some interesting developments there with the Diddy trial. They're having a tough time, are they not? Trying to get things down to a jury that hasn't been following what's been going on with Diddy, in the media, and trying to find truly unbiased jurors that can do what they need to do here. I don't know if this trial is ever going to happen. I'm being totally candid with you guys. I don't know if that trial is ever going to happen. But anyway, Carlito. Looks like WWE is continuing to let their talents work outside independent dates. So in this case, Carlito, he's going to be returning to the World Wrestling Council promotion at the end of the month, if I'm not mistaken, for the Summer Madness event. So you guys that maybe used to check out WWC at some point, you all may want to do your best to give that a look, see what's going on. While we're also talking about independent dates, got something else for you guys. For you Gigi Dolan fans, she's definitely going back to the name Priscilla Kelly. She's been announced for the AIW and Revolver events. It looks like everything will begin with her debuting for the Revolver promotion on June 14th. At the Cage of Honors event. She's going to be facing Zachary Wentz at that event. And then also, I believe that's supposed to be happening either later this month. Shotzi. Rumors are is growing very strong that Shotzi Blackheart is going to be debuting for the MLW promotion. So, for those of you that maybe haven't dipped your head and checking out what's been happening with MLW as of late, y'all may want to get back on the bandwagon, get caught up to speed. Cora Jade has been announced for returning to the Black Label Pro Wrestling promotion. Remember, she's going to now be wrestling as Ilana Black. She'll be making her return at the Have You Heard event on June 14th. So we got that, all that's going to be going on. Have you guys seen the video that's been floating around of John Cena from last week's SmackDown? And at that SmackDown event, a fan, which was a grown-ass man, threw a beer bottle. Well, not necessarily a bottle. It was more like a beer bottle can, right? So it was beer in a aluminum can. This guy decided to throw it at John Cena. Sorry for the long pause to our audio listeners, but I was shaking my head in disgust just now. I cannot, I looked at this video because I didn't get a chance to watch SmackDowns. I just happened to be on my social media feed when I saw this. So let me see if I got this straight. You're a grown ass man. You paid some decent money. Because look, when you see where this guy is positioned and you are watching frame for frame as he's throwing this object at John Cena, you can't help but go, wow, this guy's got some pretty good seats. So you got some pretty good seats, which you probably paid, some decent money for to do that. And you get, and rightfully so, ejected out of the arena by security. Not smart. it's just not smart. I know that we're gonna have some people out there. Oh, well, you pay your hard-earned dollars. You should be able to boo. You should be able to cheer. You should be able to. And I agree with that. I wholeheartedly agree with that. But you should not be able to throw foreign objects like that and others at these celebrities, at these athletes, entertainers. You shouldn't, like, zero zero, because what if that lands in the eye of that person? Right now, that person is seriously injured in the eye. And what if it's not just a case where they're seriously injured in the eye? What if, as a result of whatever that foreign object is, what if it removes their sight from that particular eye? What if some type of a laceration occurs and they've got to get multiple stitches? Like, it's just, it should be a no-brainer. Like, we shouldn't even have to say this, but no, like, don't do that. It's just stupid. If that talent, that entertainer, if that athlete, that celebrity, if they've got you worked up that much that you feel as though you gotta throw some type of foreign object at them, that's one of those. Maybe you should just take 5 minutes, maybe go to the concessions, walk it off. Okay. Or something. Go use the bathroom. Like, do something to cool yourself off. Talk to the person next to you, especially if you're there with somebody, right? It looks like this guy was there by himself. It looks like. So yeah, if I couldn't be that guy's friend, I would have just been so embarrassed. If I was his friend, I definitely would have been chewing him out verbally, going like, dude, what the hell are you thinking? Like, seriously. It's like, what are you, 10? Like, what the hell? Like, you should know better, dude. I was pretty disgusted when I saw that. I gotta tell you, it just made me shake my head in disbelief there. And it's just one of those isn't it funny? Like, I mean, really, take a minute and think about this. Isn't it funny that, like, in the more later years, whenever something weird goes down with a fan and a wrestler, it's usually a grown ass man. Like, I cannot recall the last time, this teenager got in trouble. Like, I can't recall. I cannot recall. It's been that long. It's been that long. Ridiculous. Even the guy that jumped up on the Hall of Fame stage, trying to beat the crap out of Bret Hart, that was a grown ass man. Shit Piss Milk guy, Performance Center, that was a grown ass man, a disturbed grown ass man at that. The guy that was stalking Sonya Deville, Liv Morgan, right? Grown ass man. A lot of grown ass people. Anyway, Cora Jade, for you AEW fans, she is set to make her return to AEW programming this week. It's going to be coming up on Dynamite. Remember, she's been out due to an ankle injury since summer of last year. So she will be back in action, it looks like, on this coming week's Dynamite. Looking forward to that. I legit, I missed the lovely Sky Blue. I cannot tell you how many times back in the day when I used to be writing for Full One Mania and cover episodes of Rampage and some of the one-offs like the Battle of the Belts and all that. I could remember how much of a highlight it was for the community when Sky Blue was on the show. Sky Blue, Giulia Hart, Queen Amanada, those were the main three that everybody was just like, oh, and Willow. Like I mentioned, Willow Nightingale. Anytime those girls were on one of those shows, especially Sky Blue, lot of love. And obviously, as far as the appearances goes, doesn't help that. We're talking about some very beautiful women and all of that just so happen to wrestle pretty damn good as well. I know there's some stuff with regards to Biggie and his comments about um telling the fans that they need to be a little bit more respectful towards the women that are getting older before their eyes, giving them the same level of respect like the men. I don't know if you guys had saw that, but he put some very interesting words out there. It's worth going out of your way and checking out. Look, he's not saying something that I haven't said on this show for years, but I appreciate the fact that here is a person of Biggie's caliber, right? And he is aware of the influence that he has because in his own right he is a social media influencer, whether he likes it or not. He is an influencer. And I've always felt that there was a weird stigma going on there where we cut the guys a lot more slack. Yeah, they're about to hit 50, they're about to hit 52, 53. Oh, but they can still go. Whereas we look at, some of these female wrestlers. I still remember all the hazing back in the day that Mickey James would get. And it didn't help that the way Vince McMahon and the crew, were kind of, oh, she's picking up some weight, oh, Piggy James, and it was kind of sad. It was kind of sad seeing what was happening with some of the women back then. Um, how they were being ridiculed for their age and all of that. But I've always felt that we should be giving the same level of respect to female wrestlers, just as we give to the men's wrestlers. As far as I'm concerned, if you still look the part, you can still go. Like nothing else should really matter. Like seriously. And I just think at this point, with everything that we know about health, nutrition, I mean, look at what's going on with LeBron James, 40 going on 41, and the fact that this guy can still go. This guy is still putting up some really solid numbers, assists, 3 pointers. I mean, this man can still go. It's not too many, 40 something. Y'all, you want to talk hockey, you look at my man Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals, how this guy can still go. Um, Venus and Serena Williams. Of course, the old time OG Cal Ripken of my Baltimore Orioles. I mean, my God, Mr. Iron Man, truly Mr. Iron Man. If you still, you still look the part, you can still go. Like age shouldn't matter, really. I don't personally think. I mean, as long as you're not going out there and you are a poor version of what you were 10, 15, 20 years ago, that's when it's like, you know who I think, is really female wise, I'm talking, who's been some really good examples of, now look at these women. These women can still freaking go. Trish Stratus is at the top of my list. Trish Stratus is a prime example of health, nutrition, staying on top of your health. Trish Stratus is a prime example of age non-factor. If you're doing everything right, you know, yeah, there might be kind of that disconnect with the wrestling fans because they didn't grow up on Trish Stratus. But when you really take a step back and just, yo, this woman can still go. Mickey James is definitely another one, and I think she's a mom of 2 kids now with Nick Aldis. The fact that she can still, you just can't help but give her props. Gail Kim is another one. Awesome Khan, I remember Awesome Kong. You know, before all the stuff had went down with her run in WWE, even afterwards. I remember when she was rededicating herself, her health, nutrition, and all that. Homegirl could still, go out there, do the damn thing. My girl Jazz, she has slowed down quite a bit. She has slowed down drastically, but get her in the right position with the right opponent, that woman can still freaking go. Rosemary can still freaking go. You know, there's a solid amount of women out there that show that, you know, age, it's nothing but a number. It's really all about what you're doing, health nutritional wise, and everything. I think those that, you know, it's interesting. I think where a wrestling fan that also happens to be a TV fan will have issues is when they see so many people that's not in their respected age group, and they kind of feel as though they aren't being represented. Their respected demographic is not being represented. You guys may remember last week I was talking about Homicide, Life on the Street, one of my favorite all-time shows from NBC back in the day. They filmed it out here in the DMV region, DC, Maryland, Virginia. We call the area DMV. I remember when they were going into the sixth season of Homicide, NBC executives had pressed upon them, yo, bring on some younger folks. You know, we need some younger cast members that can be part of the season, because we need to try to attract a little bit of a younger audience. We want to try to get these people in this demo. Because when you first watched Homicide, when you first watched those, what was it? When you watched those first 5 seasons, you're easily looking at that show going, okay, so they're definitely going after the 30 to 55, maybe 30 to 65 demo, or you can make an argument they were going for the 40 to 65 age demo. And then by the time you got to the fifth season, they added, like, I think they added one, two, three. They added four new faces. Most of them were young. Like, they would definitely, if you were in that 18 to 30 demo, like those four people that they had, three of them was definitely in your demo. I think some of the wrestling fans, just to kind of push back a little bit, you know, it's kind of one of those, I wish I could debate somebody like a Big E and kind of ask him, you know, is this kind of maybe what you're seeing on social media, or is it just more of a, a wrestling fan just complaining, you know, without merit, or, you know, is there some type of merit? Like, what do you notice in here exactly? But definitely feel that if you are in a position where you're watching something, you're the intended audience, but you feel as though your respected age demo is not being represented, you know, yeah, it's, I can understand that, because then it's like, well, wait a minute, this product is supposed to be for me, but when I tune in, like, I'm not being represented. And that fan, after a while of feeling alienated, they're gonna go take their viewership elsewhere. You know, that's all is to it. So I can understand that wrestling fan that's maybe kind of looking at it from that standpoint. But if they're not looking at it from that standpoint, and it's just solely get that old mother out of the ring, you know, then it's kind of like, that's kind of harsh, right? It's kind of it's like that's kind of harsh, dude. So wishful thinking on that one. Other than that, that is pretty much it. I think we did pretty good. We ran about an hour 35 minutes, give or take. So pretty good. All right, some quick programming notes. I got to get with Tams. I know she wants to sit down. Once again, she got hit with the sickness again. I'm not talking about the song either. Like, she literally got sick. She got caught in the rain late last week, and she ended up getting a really bad cold. So she's been fighting that ever since. She's about, honestly, I would say she's 70% better. But we're gonna see if maybe we can sit down and do a show this week. So keep your fingers crossed on that one. Otherwise, if we don't do a bonus show for you guys this week, your next edition of the RCWR show for sure is going to be on Monday. What is that? Is that the 19th or 20th? That'll be the 19th. Monday, May. Oh, no. Monday, May 19th, 2025. I did a dramatic pause there because I just realized my wife's birthday is that coming week. So I definitely got to make sure I represent and make sure we're able to do something kind of fun for. I asked her last month. I said, "What do you want to do for your birthday?" And I got so now I'm gonna have to revisit that again with her this week and be like, "So what do you want to do?" Hopefully, she'll have a more detailed answer than just Hopefully, she'll actually want to, well, let's do this. By the way, hopefully you guys got your Mission Impossible Reckoning tickets. I know I had talked about it a couple of weeks ago. I got my ticket. I'm excited. Looking forward to seeing that. By the way, before I roll out, I want to show you guys something really, really cool here. I had got this from my classmate Brandon. Shout out to him. I had said to him, "Yo, this was like months ago, and I just now am getting it because I've been so busy with classes and everything." But check out my Red Hawk. This is probably going to throw the iris off big time. If there's ever a time for like white balance, let's do a white balance here, right? Mess with the iris. Here is my Red Hawk popcorn bucket. I mean, look at that fine detail, fine points of articulation there. Isn't that badass? And so, you just open it up, you go into his back, and you pretty much just put the popcorn all in there. And it's pretty deep. Like, you can definitely get your hand in there pretty good. Like, there's no issue whatsoever. Now, if you're curious if the popcorn can even go up into the head, no, it doesn't. It doesn't go into the head. It can pretty much go all out into the chest that you see here. It can go out into the shoulders. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Now, hindsight being 2020, if I had to pick between this and the other Red Hawk, where there's a Red Hawk figure statue that's pushing a popcorn bucket, that looks really, really badass. Hindsight being 2020, I probably would have leaned more towards getting that one. But I don't regret that one. I don't regret that one one little bit. So I got one more popcorn bucket I gotta pick up from my boy Brandon. He's got the Falcon popcorn bucket that's got the wings that spread out. Oh, I can't wait to get that. I'm running out of room here on this damn desk though, man. I gotta tell you, running out of room with all these props that we got going on. Hey, shout out to our sponsors, shout out to friends of the show, particularly shout outs to Julian Cannon of the Nocturnal and Digiday. Shout out to my buddies and Mish Thomas and Joe Numbers of Wrestling Soup. And shout out to you, the listeners. We had a fantastic month of April going into the first half of May, by the way. I was checking out the listening stats over the weekend, and you guys represented big time. So thank you for that. Particularly you guys that were checking out the show for on-demand and downloads, you audio listeners out there. So appreciate that. Means a ton. Let's keep the momentum going. Make sure you're following me all throughout social media. Show the YouTube channel some love as well. Definitely got some more content that we're going to be uploading on there very, very soon. Be kind, rewind, check out previous episodes you might have missed on demand and on the downloads. Just search the RCWR show. And until next go round, my pretty babies, I'm wishing all of y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. I will see you guys next go round. Adios and take care.